Edit. Thanks for all the help. I'm just going to ignore the aggressive comments. And if you think the post is fake, just do me the favor of moving on and just blocking me so that the comments of people who want to help don't get lost. I'm getting a lot of advice in my DMs, and I'm really grateful for that, as it is much easier for me to find the messages since there are so many comments here and some advice gets lost. I don't know if the mods could archive the post or close the comments so that those who want to help me have somewhere to contact me anyway. Info. I'm a woman, by the way. Sorry, I forgot to add this. Long story short, I always hated my brother-in-law, Bil. He's the type of man who thinks he's the main character and a total freak. Here, it's pretty popular for a man to make podcasts that encourage other men to be alpha males, and I think he watches that kind of content. Months ago, my sister's husband decided to open the marriage, and like all men do on those occasions, he got into a couple with a young girl who's in college. The girl was very rude and irritating the few times I saw her. My brother-in-law has her living in their home with them. Obviously, I've noticed my sister feeling uncomfortable and depressed to the point that she doesn't invite anyone to her house anymore except me. Only I know about the open relationship. My sister has been depressed lately. A few days ago, I went to visit her because she felt sick, and she confessed to me that she has been having suicidal thoughts. She used to have them during high school too. She even tried to do it a few times, and her husband threatened to leave her if she didn't open the marriage, and she only stays quiet to please him. But she feels dirty having to share her husband. She even cried saying that she hates him and is just disgusted by him. She said she feels trapped and just wants to die. My brother-in-law was hearing that outside the bedroom, and he instantly started getting defensive and saying that no human is monogamous, and it's normal for men to want to have intimacy with younger women, and it's normal for women to look for older men. The whole scene was disturbing. My sister was crying and shaking as he yelled at her and tried to convince her to shut up and just accept the new reality of the couple. It reminded me of my father, who had the same behavior with our mother. That manipulative way of speaking brought back too many memories. It was an aggressive and really ugly moment. At that moment, I lost my sanity a bit when I saw my sister in that state. He was gripping her arm tightly and yelling like crazy, so I threw myself on top of him and started hitting him. Before doing that, I was yelling at him to stop, but he ignored me totally. Something you should know is that he has a colostomy. I think that's what it's called. I don't know, he must live with a bag bat, so between the hits, I ended up hurting him there, so he had to be taken to the hospital to fix the bag. Nothing too serious. The instant he was on the floor hurt, my sister started defending him. Now she is angry with me, saying that I shouldn't have been violent with him and he didn't deserve that. I've never been a violent person, but I have police training, so I know where to hit. It's not like I almost ended the life of him, but he will have bruises. I don't understand why my sister is defending him. She's even with him right now. Is it because of the hurtful situation she is in? I really don't know what to think because at first she hated him, and now he's an angel in her eyes. I'm really confused and even frustrated about this, mostly because I worry about my sister's mental health. She even talked about wanting to divorce him. She told me that she wants to leave him, so now I don't understand anything because I thought that at this point he would be my soon-to-be ex-brother-in-law. If someone went through a situation like this, I would be grateful if they gave me some advice on what I can do, because at this point, I feel lost, frustrated, and worried. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot, miss. You are a sweet person. I am sorry to hear what you are going through. And even more of being the one to tell you the quote from a passage of Spanish Baroque theater that could not suit the situation better. She may obey you, no, but I hold it as impossible to save a woman if she doesn't want to be saved. Comment 2. Not the idiot. I totally understand where you were coming from. Before that weirdo comes for me with the large, bold text, I don't care that Bill went to the hospital. I think all abusers deserve to feel somewhat like they make their victims. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, It's been a week since I last posted about the whole mess with my sister and her husband, and boy, do I have an update for you. I've been getting a lot of advice in my DMs, which has been super helpful, so thanks for that. Now, let's dive into what's been happening. After the incident where I lost my cool and hit my brother-in-law, BIL, things have been tense, to say the least. My sister was mad at me for being violent, and I was feeling all kinds of guilty and confused. I mean, I've always been the protective type, but I never thought I'd actually hit someone. It's not like I go around using my police training on people, but seeing my sister so broken, it just snapped something in me. So my brother-in-law had to go to the hospital to get his colostomy bag fixed because of our scuffle. I felt bad about that, even though he's a total jerk. I mean, the guy's got some health issues, and I didn't mean to make them worse. But then, things took a turn that I did not see coming. While he was in the hospital, my sister stayed by his side like some kind of devoted wife. It was like she forgot all the awful things he'd done to her. It reminded me of how she used to be back in high school, always trying to please everyone, even if it hurt her. She had a tough time back then, dealing with all sorts of dark thoughts, and it seems like she's slipping back into old habits. But here's the kicker. While he was laid up in the hospital bed, my brother-in-law's college girlfriend showed up, and she was not happy. Apparently, she thought she was the only one in his life, despite the whole open marriage thing. She caused a scene right there in the hospital, yelling and crying, and my sister just sat there, looking like she wanted the ground to swallow her up. The girlfriend stormed out, and my brother-in-law, the charmer that he is, tried to smooth things over with my sister. He told her that the girl meant nothing, that it was just a fling. But my sister, she finally had enough. She told him she wanted a divorce, right there in front of him and the nurses and everyone. It was like something out of a movie. I thought that was the end of it, but nope, there's more. After my sister declared she wanted a divorce, my brother-in-law started begging her not to leave him. He said he'd change, that he'd be the husband she deserved. It was hard to watch, honestly. I've seen him manipulate her before, just like our dad used to do to our mom. It's like a pattern with the men in our lives, and it's disgusting. But my sister, she's got a spine of steel when she decides to use it. She told him she was done, that she couldn't live like this anymore. She even brought up how she used to feel in high school, how she didn't want to go back to that dark place. I was proud of her, standing up to him like that. Now, here's where it gets really crazy. My sister moved out of their house and has been staying with me. We've been talking a lot, trying to work through everything. She's been opening up about how she felt trapped in the marriage, how she only agreed to the open relationship because she was scared of losing him. It's been tough, but I think she's starting to see things more clearly now. But then, just when we thought we could breathe a little easier, my brother-in-law shows up at my door. He's got flowers and chocolates, the whole 9 yards. He's begging to talk to my sister, saying he's a changed man. I told him to leave, that he's not welcome here, but he wouldn't budge. We had a bit of a shouting match, and my sister came out to see what was going on. She told him she needed time, that she couldn't just forgive and forget everything he'd done. He looked like he was about to argue, but then he just deflated. He left the gifts on the doorstep and walked away. It was the first time I'd ever seen him look defeated, so things have been quiet for the last couple of days. My sister's been talking to a lawyer about the divorce, and I've been doing my best to support her. It's been a roller coaster, but I feel like we're finally getting somewhere. But then last night, we got a call from the hospital. My brother-in-law was back in the ER, this time with a serious infection from his colostomy site. It's bad, like life-threatening bad. And my sister, she's torn up about it. She doesn't want to be with him, but she doesn't want him to die either. So that's where we're at. My sister's a mess, my brother-in-law's in the hospital, and I'm just trying to keep everyone afloat. I never thought I'd be in the middle of something like this. It's like one thing after another keeps happening, and we can't catch a break. My son's wife turns him against his gay brother, but when he realizes the truth, he fights to rebuild their bond before the family is torn apart forever. So I have 2 boys, One is gay, and the other became very religious after marrying his wife. I did not expect him to change this much. They were inseparable growing up, and his brother also gave him his kidney. So, I don't know why he thinks he's entitled to have the love the sinner, hate the sin mentality. Their mother is gone, and after I'm gone, they'll only have each other. I also didn't like his wife because she tries to keep him and their kids away from me and his brother because we're not religious, and because his brother is proud of his sins. My son doesn't seem to have an issue with it. He told me he knows his little brother loves him even if he's religious. And the feeling of dread came back. If their mother was here, she would have cried and been heartbroken. They're the only thing she left me, and I just want them to treat each other well. They have no cousins, no grandparents, no aunts or uncles, and neither of them have any friends. I'd hate if something happened to me and they end up ignoring each other for the rest of their lives. I went to talk to his brother, and his wife was constantly interrupting me and not letting us talk. So, I just insisted we go for a drive, just me and him. She tried to stop him, but I yelled at him to move and come with me. When we were finally alone, I told him that I love him and his brother a lot, and that I want them to be able to trust and rely on each other, and that the way he's treating his brother would make his mother so ashamed of him. I told him, "Your brother gave you his kidney. He loves you, and you're not treating him well." He then told me that he has to put his religion first. I just snapped and told him to get out of the car, and I just went back home. We didn't talk for 3 months. He started realizing this might become permanent because he's been calling me nonstop these past few days. And whenever we talk, he's still the same. If he keeps this up, I might cut him out of my will. I'm thinking I'm overreacting, but his brother doesn't tell me when he's hurt. He tried to end his life when their mother died. I know he's hurt by his brother treating him like he's done something wrong when he's just gay. I also don't know if he's just calling me because I stopped sending him money, but I know he can just go to his brother for that, and he'll just give him money. I really don't understand why he treats him like that. His brother is very sweet to him and his family, and they take advantage of that. And they also think they're holier than everyone else. They are not in a position to judge anyone. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not applicable. Cut him off. You explain things and he hasn't changed his view or apologized. Cut him out of the will. Stop sending him money and make sure his brother doesn't send him the money. His religion can support him since that's enough for him to treat family members badly. You need to help your other son understand that the way his brother treats him is not okay, and he shouldn't be okay with it. He can love him and not be okay with the way he's being treated. Comment 2. Both of your sons are adults. I understand your frustration, but you are not going to be able to fix their problems. You have no control over their relationship. They both need to own their own participation in their relationship and work together to resolve their problems. You only have control over you. You are free to make whatever decisions that you want and do what works for you. However, you have no control over their behavior or reaction. Not the jerk, NTA. Now for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post, and I've got quite the update for you all. So, after the big blowout with my religious son, things went quiet for a while. He kept calling, but I was still so mad, I just couldn't pick up the phone. I kept thinking about their mother, how she'd be so disappointed in the distance between her boys. She always had this way of bringing them together, no matter what. It's been tough without her, especially since I'm trying to fill her shoes. Now, remember how I mentioned my son's wife? Well, she's been a real piece of work throughout all this. She's been the one pushing him to keep his distance from us because we don't fit into their religious life. It's like she's forgotten how close the boys were before all this. They used to have this secret handshake they'd do whenever they accomplished something together. It was their thing, you know? And now, it's like they're strangers. But here's the shocker. My religious son showed up at my door out of the blue. No call, no text, just standing there looking all kinds of nervous. I almost didn't recognize him with that new beard he's been growing. He said he wanted to talk, just him and me, no interruptions. I was hesitant, but I let him in. We sat down, and he started off by apologizing for everything. He said he'd been doing a lot of thinking and realized he was risking losing his family. He even admitted that he missed his brother's laugh, something I hadn't heard in years. It was a jaw-dropping moment, seeing him so vulnerable. But then, he dropped a bombshell. He confessed that his wife had been threatening to leave him if he didn't cut ties with us. She'd been manipulating him, using their kids as leverage, saying she didn't want them influenced by our sinful ways. It was a real eye-opener for him, seeing how she was trying to control his life. Now, on to his brother, my other son. He's been keeping to himself, working on his art. He's always had this talent for painting, something he got from his mother. She used to paint these beautiful landscapes, and he's definitely inherited that gift. But he's been struggling too. He's been feeling abandoned by his brother, and it's been eating away at him. The two of them finally had a confrontation. It was intense, to say the least. My religious son went to his brother's place, and they had it out. There were tears, shouting, and a whole lot of truth being thrown around. My gay son told him how he felt like he'd been thrown away, like their past and all they'd been through together meant nothing. But here's the twist. In the middle of their argument, my religious son broke down. He admitted he was scared of losing his family, his brother, and that he didn't know how to balance his faith with his love for his brother. It was a moment I never thought I'd see. They didn't magically make up, but they started talking. It's been a slow process, but they're working on it. They've been meeting up, just the two of them, trying to rebuild that bridge. It's not perfect, but it's a start. As for me, I've been doing a lot of thinking myself. I've been considering the whole will situation, and I've decided not to cut my religious son out. It's not what their mother would have wanted. She believed in second chances, and I guess I do too. But here's the bittersweet part. My religious son's marriage is on the rocks. His wife isn't happy about him reconnecting with us, and it's causing a rift. He's trying to hold his family together, but it's like he's standing at a crossroads, not sure which way to go. And my other son, he's been more open lately, but I can tell he's still hurting. He's been throwing himself into his painting, creating these pieces that are so full of emotion, you can almost feel his pain in the brushstrokes. My stalker tricks a psychiatrist to lure me into a trap, but I escape, and now she's got my friend planting bugs in my car while her sister sends apologies for their family's craziness. If you need an extensive history, you can check my profile, but I'll give a summary here. I, 29-year-old male, have a stalker named Emily, 30-year-old female, for the past 10 years. I had to get an extensive camera system on my house, take to scanning my car for AirTags every morning and every evening, and keep a voice recorder disguised as a ballpoint pen in my pocket. I was able to get a restraining order last year and have kept a copy of the paperwork in my pocket at all times in case a public event happens. Emily has tricked friends I had into setting us up into a blind double date in the past. She has nearly had me thrown out of my own house by the police by posing as my girlfriend. She had me ostracized from a workplace by acting like my girlfriend too. Emily is deeply disturbed and also frighteningly convincing to people. She is insane, and the law seems content to just lock her up for brief periods, then let her out repeatedly. I live a life where I am perpetually on edge waiting for her next stunt. My interest in romantic relationships is completely ended the life of. Last week, I got a phone call while driving home that my friend Chris was in a bad way. The caller, a woman I haven't heard before, introduced herself as Dr. Taylor. She gave me an address, and I headed over as quickly as I could. I do have a friend named Chris who has struggled with alcohol in the past, so I was very worried. I got to the doctor's office and went inside, and yep, Emily. Dr. Taylor said she was here to talk about the issues my girlfriend Christina and I were having. I turned around to walk out the door, and Dr. Taylor shut the door on me and said I could not avoid the conversation anymore. I tore the paper out of my pocket and held them at her face and said in a shaking voice, "That woman is not my girlfriend. She is my stalker." Dr. Taylor immediately apologized, opened the door, and let me out. In the lobby, I called the cops and could hear yelling from the doctor's office between Dr. Taylor and Emily. Cops arrived in 20 minutes, dragged Emily out in handcuffs for once again breaking the restraining order. Dr. Taylor came out and was immediately apologetic. She said she was tricked, that Emily was incredibly convincing. All the same, shoot, I heard from everyone she has tricked in the past. Dr. Taylor has just started her own private practice as a psychiatrist and begged me to not report her to the board. I've talked with a lawyer and I am well within my rights to report Dr. Taylor, so this isn't a legal question. I admit that Emily is extremely convincing, so I can't fault most people for getting tricked by her. But Dr. Taylor, she is supposed to be a psychiatrist. Shouldn't she be more equipped to smell crazy? Dr. Taylor seemed so genuine in her shock, and she did immediately take the right steps in protecting me from Emily the second she knew the truth. I'm very conflicted in this. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Dr. Taylor made an egregious error and deserves to be reprimanded and further educated by her governing body. A bit of coping with a stalker. I met with a security firm and underwent a bit of training to get my head in the game, how to react or not, kidnapping prevention, and situational awareness skills. But the one thing that is my daily mantra is never let them get you to a second location. You know she's devious and fixated, she's escalating, be safe. Comment 2. You would not be an idiot. I'm all for giving people a second chance over an honest mistake. But this bit. I turned around to walk out the door, and Dr. Taylor shut the door on me and said I could not avoid the conversation anymore. Changes it for me. She can repeat her excuses to whoever investigates her misconduct. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a week since my last post about the whole Emily situation, and let me tell you, things have taken an even crazier turn. I thought I had seen it all with her, but this past week has been a whole new level of insanity. So, after the incident at Dr. Taylor's office, I was pretty shaken up. I mean, Emily had managed to infiltrate a psychiatrist's practice to get to me. That's some next-level dedication right there. I was trying to process everything and figure out my next steps when I got a call from Chris, the real Chris, my friend who's had his struggles. He was freaking out because he'd heard from someone that I was in trouble. I had to calm him down and explain the mix-up with the fake Dr. Taylor call. But here's where it gets wild. Chris confessed that a few weeks back, Emily had approached him. She spun this sob story about how she was trying to make amends and wanted to help him with his recovery. Chris, bless his heart, is the kind of guy who sees the good in people, even when it's not there. He actually let her into his life, thinking she was just a concerned friend of mine. Emily used that opportunity to learn about Chris's history, his struggles, and how close we were. That's how she knew to use his name to lure me to Dr. Taylor's office. But the betrayal doesn't stop there. Chris also admitted that Emily had convinced him to plant a listening device in my car. She told him it was so I could have someone looking out for me in case I ever got into trouble because of my dangerous stalker. The irony, right? I was floored. Chris and I go way back, and to think he'd been manipulated into betraying me like that, it hurt a lot. I confronted him, and he was genuinely remorseful. He had no idea he was actually helping Emily keep tabs on me. He thought he was doing a good thing, keeping an eye on his buddy. Now back to Dr. Taylor. After the whole debacle, she's been trying to make things right. She's been calling, leaving messages, even sent a fruit basket to my house as an apology. I guess she's really worried about her reputation and her new practice. But I can't help but feel a little sorry for her. She was duped, just like so many others before her. I've been talking to my lawyer about what to do next. He thinks we have a strong case against Emily for the continued harassment and now for manipulating Chris into bugging my car. But there's a part of me that's just so tired of all this. I want to move on with my life, but Emily's shadow is always there. In a weird twist, Dr. Taylor has actually offered to help me pro bono. She feels so guilty about the whole thing that she wants to provide therapy to help me deal with the trauma Emily has caused. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. It's hard to trust anyone these days, especially someone who's already been tricked by Emily once. And just when I thought things couldn't get any more complicated, I got a letter. not from Emily, but from her sister. I didn't even know Emily had a sister. She wrote to me, apologizing for Emily's behavior and explaining that she's been trying to get Emily the help she needs for years. She said that their family has a history of mental illness and that Emily has refused treatment every step of the way. Her sister's letter was a glimpse into Emily's past that I never expected to see. It talked about their childhood, the early signs of Emily's obsession with control and attachment, and the countless therapists they'd seen. It was sad, really, to think about how long Emily has been struggling and how it's affected so many lives, including mine. I'm still deciding what to do about Dr. Taylor and whether to take her up on her offer for therapy. As for Chris, I've forgiven him. He was a victim in all of this too, but I've made it clear that he needs to be more careful about who he trusts, especially when it comes to anything related to me. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.